Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Humanities. Today, I am your host, Logan Fagan, and I am joined today by Tony Pearson. Hello.
Why, hello.
How are you?
I am hanging in there. The weather is not being nice to us right now, but it's cozy in the Gordon State College podcast studio.
Indeed. Also, this is like the worst time of the year. It's finals time. It's freezing outside. Everybody's completely exhausted, but we move on.
We do indeed.
All right. So, Tony, would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Why, hello, listeners. My name's Tony, and I am the department head for the Department of Arts and Humanities here at beautiful Gordon State College. I'm a theater professor, and I think I'm going on 19 years here. My background is in theater design and technical direction. That sounds like I say that I design theaters. I don't do that. I'm a set and lighting designer.
You say 19 years?
I believe we're going on 19 as of the spring.
That's wild because we met back in 2008, 2009. That's wow.
Yes.
All right. So, without further ado, let's just jump into it. So, today our topic is theater and the influence it has on society as a whole. So, I've got a couple of questions that I figured would be interesting to talk to you about, and let's see where this goes, shall we?
I love it.
Yes. Real quick, this is kind of awkward. Like, it's because we've talked before, but we've never talked with like microphones on us. And
No.
now it's just like, okay, and now other people will hear our conversations. Okay. So I guess let's start with how long exactly have you been involved in theater? Before we jump into the hard-hitting questions.
I mean, you've probably heard at one point my story about the really unfortunate high school cafetorium anti-smoking play that I was a part of.
Yes.
Yeah. I won't share it here. It would not entertain anyone. But I got involved in theater like a lot of us nerds do in high school. So I was in the one act play, and drama club was my home. I was at a football school, and I was not a football person, so that was where I found a place. Person I ended up marrying, we met in high school in the theater,
Nice.
So yeah, so that's been a long time ago.
It's funny you say like so many of us do, like finding theater in high school. I wanted to join theater when I was in high school, but they got rid of the program the year before I joined, and it wasn't until I got to Gordon, and I don't think I've ever told you this, I had signed up for like a bunch of random classes, and they got like dropped accidentally.
Yes.
And so like my entire schedule got cleared out like a day or two before the semester started. So I had to like just scramble to find stuff. Otherwise, like my financial aid was going to go out the window. And I was like, okay, theater, music, art, appreciate. Like, and I don't do art. It's not my thing. I can't play an instrument to save my life. And at this time, I was like, I was not comfortable singing. So I was like, okay, I think theater's interesting. I'll take theater appreciation. And then I get to your class, and on that first day, you tell everybody who's like, all right, oh, by the way, it was towards the end of class, you were like, if you're looking to get some extra credit or anything, feel free to stop on by the shop, help out, and all of that. And I was just like, I mean, I don't really have anything else to do. Like, it's
nice.
It's Barnesville, so why not? And I remember the first day I stepped foot in that shop, Alex Friedel, of all people, actually, he and Kirk introduced me to everybody, and I was like, this is a good environment. Like, I feel like I belong here, and I never left after that. Case in point, that was back in 2009, and here we are in 2025, and I'm still just haunting the halls of Gordon State College. But I genuinely love it here, and I did find like my community in the theater department here. So
come on, man, you're getting stuff done.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now that we've gotten the preamble out of the way,
The niceties, if you will.
indeed, technology's crazy. My phone wouldn't open. I'm like, my face. So, what is it about live storytelling that you think builds empathy between performers and the audience?
That's a great question. I think there's something about when we sit in the dark of the theater together. Theater inherently, I think, is an art form that taps into our empathy in a way that is pretty unique. I know other art forms do this, but you are expected to sit there in the dark and watch the story take place in front of you in the same room with the performers who are acting out the story. And a lot of times this is from the perspective of a character you wouldn't necessarily get along with. So you have to kind of go along for the ride. You can't hit pause. You could get up and walk out.
Yes.
But generally once the play goes, you're there for it. I think that's an incredibly valuable thing. But it's one of the few things that we have that coming together as a community, even if it's the community of the audience in that moment, that's a regular thing that we do.
Right.
I don't know how regular it is. I guess that's a.
I mean, here it's at least twice a school year here.
Sure.
And then a lot of other places they do multiple shows a year. So, do you have any plays in particular that you can think of that like really drew you in, as far as like you couldn't really think of anything, like once it started you were completely locked in, and then even after it was over that like you just kept thinking about it?
I just breathed right into the microphone. That was great. I'm a pro. I can think of two productions that I saw that I kind of consider them mountaintop theater experiences, because they're those you go see the play and you're like, well, that was wonderful.
Right.
But then they're kind of like, I think you're saying, you get locked in. One was I was able to go see the Alliance's production of a play called August, Osage County by Tracy Letts. It's intense and brilliant. It's funny and horrific, and it's just one of the most amazing pieces of theater I've ever seen. And this production was so tight that yeah, I was locked in like that.
Okay.
And another was a couple of years ago, I got to see one of my former students had directed a production of a much different play, The Complete Works of Shakespeare Abridged, at the Shakespeare Tavern in Atlanta. And Charles cast this play, which is traditionally done with usually three white actors. And a lot of the humor in it is dated. Were you ever involved with one of our productions? Because we've done it now twice here.
I wasn't.
Okay, so you can do some things to subvert the way it was written. But what Charles did is he staged it as a Black experience. And it was beautiful. Like, he took this play that's kind of on the surface very silly, where three actors speed run every single Shakespeare play, and it floored me, and I was laughing, but it moved me emotionally as well. Like, laughing is emotion too. Well, joy, laugh, whatever. Great. I'm doing great here. But that was another one for me. And part of it was born out of his experience as an African American actor, and where he felt like he could and couldn't get parts and the way he had been treated. And it was really powerful.
Nice. Do you think with like people willingly going to see theater, like live theater specifically, do you think theater can make us better listeners and more compassionate towards like other people that we probably usually wouldn't worry about or think about getting their perspective on things?
Yes, but I think, as I said before, I think theater has tremendous potential to exercise our empathy, and but people have to get to it,
Right.
and we are fighting attention span more and more, and I think that is something that fighting the perception of what theater is, or I don't know. I that's a barrier to entry that we always have to fight. But I think that sure, it has potential. Again, anytime we're gathering, we're telling stories, we're listening to each other. I think there's potential for that.
Right. I see what you mean about like trying to battle attention spans. It seems like with each passing year, people's attention spans grow shorter. And just today I was told by some students, they're like, I don't like reading. I was like, why? And they're like, it's boring. I would rather just like watch something on Netflix. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I love Netflix.
Yes.
Shout out to the new season of Stranger Things. But I think there is something to be said for choosing to sit down, open a book, and like use your imagination. And then I think if you're willing to do that, I do think you're more willing to then go into an audience, sit there, the lights come down, and be willing to pay attention. I don't know how you fight the epidemic of like decreasing attention spans, but I wish there was a way to do that, because I feel like people, I honestly, I feel like people are missing out when they don't go see something like theater related, or just any type of live art in general, whether it be theater, to a museum, or to like a concert or something like that. I'm like, art's really important and art matters. And I think society as a whole would be better if we embraced art in general.
Yeah, I think that art challenges us to engage with our world and a lot of these wonderful things like our phones and our Netflix. Well, that's not fair. I think there's a lot of great television that's being made right now, but a lot of times we go to those things to escape.
Yes.
And the phone in particular, it makes it so compelling and so easy to escape. I mean, once you pick one of those up, I held off on the smartphone forever, and now I'm so disturbed at how reflexive it is to just reach in and look and see if did I get any emails?
Yep. You ever have that phantom buzzing in your pocket?
Of course.
It's like, oh no, someone's messaged me, and then you're like, no, they
Nope.
didn't.
Nope.
Nothing. There's nothing there. And then you're like, well, now I'm kind of sad that no one's messaging me. But then I think about it, I'm like, I'm so attached to my phone that I'm starting to like a phantom limb almost. Like when I don't have it, I start to get like anxious and nervous. Although after a couple of hours of not having it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what life was like before smartphones.
Yeah, if you sit it down, if you put it away, like my family occasionally, when we're able to go on vacation, we have a tech break. So like, maybe there's one phone around in case of an emergency, but we leave most of our devices locked up, and it, after a couple of days, it was really good.
Yeah, it's nice to not have people have 24/7 access to you, which it shouldn't be like that anyway.
Right.
But no. So another question.
Yep.
How important do you think representation is, like as far as like who's on stage, whose stories are being told, in shaping how audiences understand other people?
Oh, okay. So,
or just in general.
So, I guess in terms of and other people,
Mm-hmm.
I think that I've kind of covered that a little bit,
Yeah.
but representation in general, I think this is a key issue for theater. As a theater educator, I think one of our most important job, our responsibility right now is to try to draw the circle as wide as possible. We want our audiences, we want our artists to be able to see themselves on stage and behind the scenes and see themselves in the stories that are being told.
Mm-hmm.
We very famously have a dead white guy problem. If you were to ask 100 people, name a playwright, who are they going to say?
I'd say William Shakespeare.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Shakespeare,
I haven't,
Tennessee Williams.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, there's so many people and I am absolutely drawing a blank right now, but like there are so many contemporary playwrights who are operating right now who are creating amazing things. But we the canon is good. There are good things in there. There's some excellent things in there. But I think we have to be trying to push and question it and, always be looking at what needs to be the theater that we study and the theater that we produce. And, I can tell you when we did plays that we had a couple of seasons where we intentionally chose some plays that focused on the Black experience, and our theater program grew. And I
think one of them was like a year or two after I had left, like my group had left, like me, Travis, Tara, and everybody.
Yeah.
Like I think like a year or two after that, you guys did Fences.
Yep.
And I was like, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then you did. It's not of a show that focuses on like other races, but you did Macbeth, and I remember seeing like a young man who was African American, and he was Macbeth, and I was like, oh, that's fantastic, because it's never been a problem here, but I do think in other places people kind of just fall back on the, oh, well, this character has always been like a white guy, so like why not just have him be a white guy?
Right.
And there are some shows, yes, like that, like it is very important that person is white. Like case in point, when we did Doubt a few years ago, the priests, in my opinion, race does play a big part in that, because there are racial undertones, and the boy and his mom, they are Black, they're African American. And I don't think you lose some of that if you would cast like the priest as a Black man.
Right.
But there are other shows where the race of the character doesn't matter at all, because it's not directly tied to anything that character says or does.
Sure.
So in my opinion, I'm like, well, why not just cast someone of a different race or something like that? And then there are other times where I think by making a character a different race, it highlights other things that kind of wouldn't get as much attention as if everyone was white. Like case in point, The Great Gatsby. Like personally, I think it would be really interesting if Gatsby was portrayed by someone of a different race, because then you have a lot of the stuff that Tom Buchanan says. It really highlights how horrible he is, because he says certain things and you're like, oh, you're bad. But if you look at it within the context of someone being a different race, which you really realize like how bad of a guy he actually is, because he references like, well, blah, 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 better them than the Negroes or things like that. And I'm like, imagine if Tom, who's like hoity-toity and sophisticated, like blah, 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 and imagine his reaction seeing Gatsby portrayed by like a Black person or Hispanic or Asian or something like that. And I think that adds levels and nuances to that character, which one would make portraying Gatsby really interesting, but
Mhm.
also the actor who would portray Tom, like that gives them a lot more to like dig into besides, oh, he's just a rich jerk.
Right.
But no, I oftentimes I think to myself, I'm like, but there's really no reason to not cast other people of like different ethnicities and stuff in roles like that. And I think the world of theater is starting to realize that, and I love the show, but it kind of overstayed its welcome sometimes. Like I love Hamilton, and I think Lin-Manuel Miranda did like an excellent job of being like, no, like we're going to tell this story about America, but we're going to be intentional in casting like people of other races in these roles.
Yes.
So you get that line at the end of Act 1 where Hamilton and Lafayette are like, immigrants, we get the job done.
Right.
It's such a like really good and powerful line. And I'm like, well, yes, because everyone who lives in this country now, they are descendants of people who immigrated here. And to me, I'm like, the whole, we shouldn't let people come here. But I'm like, no one here, unless you're Native American, is a Native American. Like,
Right.
we all come from other places.
Right.
And the sooner we realize that, I think the better society as a whole would be.
You brought up Hamilton too, and
Mhm.
I think that was a really interesting experience because that presented a really popular play that a lot of people would want to be a part of,
Mhm.
and folks got upset when they saw that casting.
Mhm.
But it wouldn't be the same play,
Mhm.
and because it in asking us to see the story of America through this lens, it's so great.
Mhm. I love it. One of these days, I'm gonna see it live. But every time it comes to the Fox, I'm like, those tickets are really expensive.
Yes.
Which actually, I guess that leads me to my next question.
Oh no.
How do you feel about the cost of entry to theater being so high in certain places? Like to the point where it feels like a really elitist thing to be like, I'm going to the theater to
Yes.
go watch a play.
I think it's a huge problem.
Mhm.
I know people who annually go to New York and they see lots of plays on Broadway.
Mhm.
I think I made it once in my whole life.
Mhm.
I don't remember the last show I saw. Nope, I'm a liar. I did go see 6 at the Fox.
How was that?
It was wonderful, and we were in the nosebleed seats. It was great. But no, I feel when you're getting into hundreds of dollars for a ticket for a thing that at most might be somewhere between 3 and 4 hours if it's a really long play.
Mhm.
That's just not a thing that anyone. I'll say you shouldn't be doing it.
Mhm.
But it's I take solace that that's not the only game.
Yeah.
Right. You have usually some theater near you wherever you are.
Mhm.
We have several community theaters in addition to ours in an hour drive in any direction.
Yeah.
You could cross paths with several. So I think it's good that at the community level there are lots of ways you can see theater, but I find it tremendously disappointing. In Georgia we have the Alliance.
Mhm.
And some other really good theaters in Atlanta that aren't about bringing in the giant touring musicals that are still pretty expensive at times, but they're not up in that zone of hundreds of tickets. So I think it's a huge problem, but I also think on the bright side, there's more than one way to see theater.
Yeah. I agree with that. Like, I love the places that try to, like, especially like at the community level, that try to keep the prices of tickets like cheap. Because, case in point, like if tickets cost like, I don't know, $200 something, and you have a family of 4, and you want to take them to see something that you think they would enjoy. That's about what, $800 right there. That's not feasible, especially not now when the price of everything has gone up. It's not feasible for a family to be like, okay, yeah, let's spend this $800 to go do this one thing. Especially when like a lot of people like, we have to buy groceries, we've got bills and stuff like that.
Can you justify spending a month's worth or a couple weeks worth of groceries on a 2-hour event?
Yeah, there's something, and I understand the business side of things.
Yep.
Like you've got to pay your actors, you've got to pay everybody involved, you got to keep the lights on.
Right.
There's got to be a way to do it to where you're not basically forcing people to choose between paying their rent and coming to see your show.
Yep.
Theater is supposed to be one of those things. Like it's for like, it should be for the everyday people. Like it shouldn't matter whether you're rich or poor. You should be able to, everybody comes together. You sit in that one room, and in that moment, once the lights go down and everyone's watching the show, everybody's equal.
Yep.
But, money. So as you mentioned, you have a technical background in things. How can technical design, lighting, sound, set construction, all of that, how does that contribute to how an audience can feel about the show they're going to see?
So part of what we do as designers, we start with the script, and our job is to create an environment that is a visual representation. I say an environment. I'm right there with scenery and lighting. So I'll say that first. To create an environment that reflects the themes that are in the script, the world of the characters, the personality of the characters, the production concept of the director. What are they trying to do with the play? For a costumer, they're pulling on all the things that we use when we are sizing a person up. They have to take those visual cues that when you get dressed in the morning, you are making choices based on how you feel or what's clean, but there are things that are in your closet that you chose because they make you feel a certain way.
Right.
Costumer has to consider all of those things so that when Hamlet walks on stage, even if it's a period take on it, we kind of know something about Hamlet because we recognize those things. A good designer is going to manipulate the way we view the world to shape how we take in the environment, the characters, and what the story is trying to do. A good design should give you a sense of what you're about to see.
Do you I guess it's a 2-part question.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite design that you've seen yourself in a show you've seen, and and I know this next part's going to be tricky. Do you have a favorite design that you've ever created yourself?
I pretty easy for the second part was our production of Early One Evening at the Rainbow Bar and Grill
that was
here.
A good set.
Yeah, it was neat.
Really good set.
I know that as a designer, I like, and this wasn't that, but I also like the times that I create spaces where the audience has to interact with the actors a little bit. I hate that as an audience member, by the way. It makes me so uncomfortable because I'm an introvert,
right.
and I do not want you to act at me. But I love creating those environments.
Kind of like what we had for Romeo and Juliet.
Yes. I did not watch the play sitting on our stage. But we did Diary of Anne Frank, 12 Angry Jurors.
That's right.
We had that where the audience, they were sitting on stage with the performers. In terms of I'm thinking way, all the plays through my life. an old man. Um, hmm. God, this is going to sound so hokey because I unoriginal. That production of August Osage County was this. I believe it was like a 3-story set, and it was just so eloquent, eloquent. I'm losing my ability to talk in an audio format. That's wonderful. Because it was a house, but it was a stylized version of a house. I don't know. I could go into a lot of different, I love a set that takes just enough elements to suggest what the environment is. I'm not making sense. Sorry.
I get it.
I've seen a lot of things that I could probably geek on this for a long time. So everything's kind of jumbling for me. I apologize.
No. I think one of my favorite sets that I've seen that you've worked on is, I really liked the one from when you guys did Much Ado About Nothing. I liked that one. And then I think I've got a different, like the reverse opinion on the sets that have the audience like right there in on the action. As an audience member, love it. It makes me go like, ooh, I feel like I'm right. Especially when we did 12 Angry Jurors. That was really nice. But then, because I wasn't in that show, like I was just
right.
crew, but I did come and watch it one night. I was like, I'm right in here in the action. I feel like I'm in this room with these jurors, like trying to figure out which way they should vote.
Right.
But then, from the acting standpoint, I was in Romeo and Juliet, and I think as an audience member, it's great that people can be on the stage. As an actor, it's very unnerving.
Yes.
Because it takes me out of it.
Yes.
Not when it's like random people in the audience, but when it's people I know.
Yes.
I see them, I'm like, I don't want you this close to me while
yes.
I'm acting. Like, this is, like, it's weird. And like every night there were people that I knew
right.
that were up on the stage. Like opening night, I was like, oh, okay, great.
Right.
There was one night, some students from the school I work
yes.
at, they were there, and I was just like, and fortunately, like, I could turn from the main audience, but I'd be looking at them and I'm just like, and then there are the moments where you're like off in the wings,
yes,
and they look,
yes.
you're like, turn around, stop looking at me, stop it. But no, it's fun. And the only other time I've done that was when I was Benedict in Much Ado About Nothing, and I'm giving like the big monologue after the giant party scene where he's hungover and he's just like, I can't stand Beatrice, I hate her so much, blah 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 blah. And I look out into the audience and I see, because like I'm speaking to them, and I love that show because I got to break the fourth wall for the first time.
Oh, nice.
And I'm talking to the audience, but then like right in the front row, one of my best friends, and he just looks at me with this like stupid derpy grin. He's like, oh, I see. And I was like, stop it. I'm supposed to be serious right now, and I can't be. So no, I do like that. I find it interesting that there's different perspectives on like just how people feel about that in general. Do you think?
No.
Excellent. Yes. No more thinking. Do you think theater has, actually we've talked about that, so let's go for it. My voice just kind of gave out all of a sudden. How do you think that like us as educators and people who create like theater can inspire young artists to see their work as part of something that like truly matters? Yes.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one, friend. I think that 99% sometimes of my work is trying to be a presence that hopefully reminds my students that when they matter as human beings, that they have a story to tell. I view my job as being there to either help them find their voice or help amplify their voice if they kind of know where they are.
Right.
And so that doesn't matter if you want to be an actor or a designer. You know, our job as theater educators is to this is not original to me. I heard someone say this recently. Is that our job is to ask our students to imagine what theater can be, because our job is to teach who are going to be the future leaders of the discipline. And so I don't know that I'm answering your question at all.
I think so, yeah.
But I think it's a huge part of what we're here to do is to help our students find their voice and I don't know. I'm falling apart here.
No, I get what you're saying, and to piggyback off what you're saying, like, because I didn't come up with this either. I think one of the best quotes I've ever heard I got from a TV show that I was watching once, and it's a character who was like an artist or whatever, and she was down, like thinking her art wasn't important, and the main character tells her, she's like, no, like your art matters. And I've always taken that like with me, especially like now that I'm on stage and I'm acting and I'm trying to instill some of the stuff that I've learned to like the younger generation. I'm like, no, your art does matter. Because if nothing else, it is a physical manifestation of the things that are important to you.
Yep.
And it's something that remains of us like long after we're gone. Like even if there are no pictures or there's no video recording of it, someone saw the thing you did or the thing you were in. And for them, that might be the only time they ever see this story told. But they will take that and you with them their entire life. And it might be one of those things to where you inspire someone else to do something artistic, and your legacy is like just basically you've inspired this one person who inspires someone else who inspires someone else. And that's how this thing that we love like keeps going. Like someone has to inspire the next generation.
Sure.
And you have to realize, I also think that like you need to realize like, yes, we love doing this and the applause and all of that and like the recognition, that's great. But it has to be about more than you. And I think the moment you recognize that is the moment that you actually start doing stuff that like genuinely matters and can impact other people.
Yes. Look, if you think of the stereotype of the actor who is wanting the spotlight to be on them, you know, I would push back and go, the best actors are fantastic listeners and observers. You know, and yes, spotlight is great, but
Yes.
but the ones who are good spend a lot of time studying human nature, and that takes you that requires you to be someone who is observant.
But no, I agree with that. I think to be a great actor, first you have to be a great human being, I would say. And then in order to be like a truly great human being, you have to be somebody who understands and can empathize with people in a way that like you probably wouldn't think about before. Like, I don't know, at least for me, and I don't know if this is true for everybody, I think the moment I started doing like genuinely good work was the moment I took myself out of it. I'm like, how would somebody in this situation genuinely act? And like, but not just why would they act? Like, not how would they act in this situation? Why would they be behaving in the way? Like, what led them in their life to be this person? And I think in order to figure that out, you have to kind of just relate to people in like an everyday life who have gone through stuff like this.
Right.
Like one of my favorite roles, which is crazy because I never would have thought this would have been one of my favorite roles. I was in Die Everyone Wimpy Kid the musical. And like I played like the dad. I played Frank Heffley, I think.
I saw it.
I hope you enjoyed it. But I had to reconcile a lot of things from my past about like absentee fathers and stuff like that in order to figure out like Frank's whole thing is he loves his kids, and the one he relates to the most, at least to me, is Greg. And he relates to Greg because he sees so much of himself in Greg, and sometimes he doesn't know how to respond to that. And he's like, look, there's the moment in Act 2 where he sings the You're Changing reprise, and he's like, I understand that when something goes wrong, you go to your mom. But I need you to know that I'm proud of you no matter what. And the only thing I genuinely want from you and for you is that you keep growing as a person. That's all that really matters. And I sing that song, and every night afterwards, like my character hugs Greg's character. And it was me genuinely like realizing that like, no, I never knew my dad, but I did have a lot of like important male figures in my life. And this is kind of the advice they were always giving. They're like, no, things don't go the way you want it. But if you're constantly trying to be better than you were the day before, you're going to be okay. And when that clicked, I was like, oh, okay, let me actually start trying to figure out the why of the character instead of just being like, well, this is what I say, blah, 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 do the thing. Right. But I did not mean to get that deep and emotional.
Dude, I'll say you nailed that moment. That was lovely.
Thank you. I think that's like, I hope there's a recording of it somewhere just in case I ever want like an actor's reel and I can just be like, this is me. But if you had to sum up in one sentence what theater gives people that nothing else can, what would that be?
Oh my God.
Yes, I know. I'm a terrible individual giving you all of these hard-hitting questions. Walter Cronkite, who?
I'm going to take a nap after this. Say it again.
If you had to sum up in one sentence what theater gives people that they can't get anywhere else, what would that be?
So I know you want me to just answer that as is, but do you mean in terms of the people making the theater or the audience? What do you have in mind there?
I would say the audience.
Okay.
And then you can answer the people making the theater.
Dang it. I think that audience actor dynamic, I had musicians push back on something I say in my theater appreciation class a while ago that, the give and take between the actors and the audience is something you only find in theater. I do think the way it is with us is different. But I'll acknowledge to our music friends that the presence of the audience can affect how they perform. But I always used to say, if you go to see a movie, Brad Pitt's going to do the same thing the same way every single time. But if you go, I don't know that he's ever done theater, but you go see a play, take the same actor each night, that play's going to be a little bit different because of how they perform. They could have had something funny for lunch before they win, and it just throws them off. They could have found out they won the lottery right before they go on stage. That's going to affect them a little bit. But also the energy that the audience brings to the table can affect the way the room feels. There's an electricity there. When we just did the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, we had a couple of matinee shows with a full house full of middle school students who cheered along at various moments. and the evening audience is full of adults. We're appreciative and often clap between scenes, and it was lovely. But having an audience of middle schoolers cheering when the good guys win, that does something in the room. That's electric. So I think that dynamic of again being in the same room with the actors who are performing, we're all breathing the same air. That's unique. That's unique, and it gives something to the audience. I think that you don't get anywhere else. The act of producing a play, and I don't mean in the monetary sense, but the idea of a team of actors, directors, stage managers, carpenters, costume folks, like all of those people working together for a common purpose is it can be a really addictive calling. I'm not finding good words here either. But I think something that folks who don't do theater can't understand is that when you're in that, our lives are very much governed by the production calendar, and opening night is coming whether you're ready or not. And the bonds that can be formed as you are working towards that, the conflicts that can arise with the interpersonal things that happen.
That's another episode for another day.
Whole other episode. But I mean, it is such a neat little microcosm of life. I think, we go through a birth and death and we have we're reborn at the end. That cycle is, I'm sounding so flaky right now, but I mean, that's a part of the whole thing that you don't get, I think, anywhere else.
I get what you're saying though, because you spend all of this time like being this other person, and then at least from the acting standpoint, I haven't done the technical side of things in a very long time. But like just from the acting standpoint, like I spend months on months learning how to be this character, becoming this person, like having to live through the stuff they go through during the show. And then you get to the final curtain call, and once it's all over, you're like, oh, this part of my life is over, and this person that I was during all of this has effectively like died in order for me to then just kind of go back to being Logan, but a different version of Logan, because I've learned a bunch of stuff throughout that, then to become another version of me when the next show comes around. It's much like a mighty phoenix. We die and then are constantly reborn in like a really interesting way that I think you're right, people that don't do theater just kind of don't understand.
Right.
But it's been really fun, actually. I've had a great time.
Me
but
too.
It is time that like all great shows, this has come to an end. Is there anything you would like to plug? I don't know when specifically this show comes out, but if it comes out before the next show at Gordon, would you like to plug what the next show is?
Sure. We're going to be doing an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, and it is opening in April, and I am so bad with dates.
April 9th through 12th.
Oh, you're my hero. It's not to say that I don't pay attention to the calendar. I just keep working until the show opens, and then we go.
I completely understand. But yes, adaptation of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice coming to you April 9th through 12th.
It's going to be a fun ride.
It's going to be really good. It's actually Pride and Prejudice was one of my favorite books that I read in high school, and I'm looking forward to auditioning for that show.
Yes.
But until next time, goodbye, good evening, and go see something that's artistic.